I was looking at the possibility that there can be an attack on Iran's nuclear facilities in the near term this year, 2011. I think it's pretty much a given, almost a sure bet that there will be an attack on those facilities that Iran has between now and the summer of 2012. But I'm leaning very heavily towards it happening this year. I was looking at this article and I saw this all over the place about the Prince of Saudi, who was the former intelligence agency chief. He's saying that he has ruled out the prospect of a military strike against Iran, saying an attack would have catastrophic consequences, which I think would be a very true statement. It could very well be. He's saying such an act would be foolish and not to undertake it because it would be tragic. Then he says that he was also the former Saudi ambassador to Washington, said that an attack would make Iranians defend their nuclear program more adamantly. Now, I look at this statement and I find that does not actually make sense. This last statement about Iranians would defend their nuclear program more adamantly in the case of an attack. In the case of a strike against their nuclear program, it would cease to exist, or it would mainly cease to exist, and it would put them back to square one. They wouldn't have a nuclear program in essence if they found everything. So I know that right now they're trying to defend their program more adamantly. But this makes me think that what he's telling us here is actually disinformation. You remember he is an intelligence agency chief, and he's not going to come out and say what his country may or may not do. His job as an intelligence agency chief is possibly disinformation, and I think that's what this is, because his last statement really doesn't make sense. I personally think Iran is pursuing nuclear weapons, not because of the alleged proof they put forth from the Atomic Energy Agency. It is because of the common sense economics of it for Iran. In other words, they have a 100-year supply of natural gas. They have a 50-year supply of crude oil. Per capita, they're sitting on so much reserves of crude oil and natural gas that they'd be the last country on earth to ever run out of energy. This nuclear program, is hardly giving them any electricity compared to what they use, or energy that they use, and it's costing them so much in the terms of sanctions and putting it underground and hardening facilities and everything else. And if it was just for electricity, I mean, they wouldn't be using human shields. So I already know what it's for. Now, I know this Saudi prince, who's an intelligence agency chief, I would imagine he's very much concerned about Iran having nuclear weapons because of the proximity of Saudi to Iran, and the constant friction that goes on between Sunni and Shiite Muslims. And there always is an underground war going on at all times between those factions in the Muslim world. Even though there's not outright wars going on, there always is other types of wars going on, especially in Iraq. And this article, I think, is, it's very difficult to say what's true or not, but I think this might be very good information. This was published on November 18th, 4 days ago. Today is November 22nd. It says newly acquired intelligence reports indicate several Arab countries in the Middle East are lobbying the U.S. to strike Iran this year. They're talking about Saudi was reportedly afraid Iran would use the American exit from Iraq to take over that country. And that was something I was thinking about. We're looking at this thing where, well, the troops will be in Kuwait or whatever. What I was thinking about is, how strong is that the defense force there right now? It's not that strong. It's not strong enough. It says both Iran and Saudi Arabia were respectively funding the Shiite and Sunni insurgencies that have plagued the country since the U.S.-led invasion that toppled the late dictator Saddam Hussein. And in retrospect, it almost could be viewed as not the best policy in the world to have toppled Saddam Hussein, because it knocked out the balance of power in that region between Iraq and Iran. Saddam Hussein was a strong leader, and he served as an effective check against Iran. Um, they're saying that security experts say that Baghdad's securities forces are unprepared to confront the rival insurgencies that hold Iraq in their grip, and so that's their concern, that it's going to actually, Iran's influence in that country is going to be greatly accentuated. We're talking about Saudi has also joined the Western powers in targeting Iran's nuclear program, which they see as targeting the Saudis first and foremost rather than Israel. And I have to see their point in that, because as I stated, this divide between Sunni and Shiite Muslims and the way they view each other has been going on for many, many, many years. So despite the fact that there is an open war, it's going to affect the balance of power in a great way if Iran gets nuclear weapons, and they look like they're close. Saudi Arabia also said, should Iran obtain nuclear weapons, they will seek them as well. So in other words, you might have a nuclear arms race in the Middle East with the same type of tensions that have been going on for all these years. So I'd have to agree with Israel on this. They'd have to take out Iran's nuclear program, and hopefully they could take it out without causing this damage to the rest of the country, because it isn't a war on Iran, it's a war on their nuclear program. The biggest problem Israel has is that they lost a lot of worldwide sympathy and support over the last several years at least, due to some of the heavy-handed practices they practice. There's disagreement amongst Jews about how things should be. I know this for a fact, but I'd have to be with them on this one, because it looks like, where do you go from here? Once Iran does have nuclear weapons, where do you go from there? Obviously, the sanctions have never worked, and they're not going to work. So it may be a possibility that Israel will attack them when they least expect it, when supposedly the time is the worst time, which is the winter time. So I think that may happen in this year, 2011.